So sorry about that interruption. Sophie stared down at the fearful nightmare dream that was still thrashing away in the huge glass jar. It was much larger than the others. It was about the size and shape of, shall we say, a turkey's egg. It was jellyish. It had tinges of bright scarlet deep inside it. Scarlet is like a deep, dark purple. There was something terrible about the way it was throwing itself against the sides of the jar. I don't want to give the queen a nightmare, Sophie said. I is thinking, the BFG said, that your queen will be happy to have a nightmare if having a nightmare is going to save a lot of human beings from being gobbled up by filthsome giants. Is I right or is I left? I suppose you're right, Sophie said. It's got to be done. The dream in the jar. She will soon be getting over it, the BFG said. Have you put all the other important things into it? Sophie asked. When I is blowing that dream into the queen's bedroom, the BFG said, she will be dreaming every single little thing-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling you was asking me to make her dream. About me sitting on the windowsill? Oh, that part is very strong. And about the big friendly giant? I is putting in a nice long gobbet about him, the BFG said. As he spoke, he picked up one of his smaller jars, and he very quickly tipped the struggling, thrashing troggle-humper out of the large jar into the small one. Then he screwed the lid tightly onto the small jar. That's it, he announced. We is now ready. He fetched his suitcase, and he put the small jar into it. Why bother to take a great big suitcase when you've only got one jar? Sophie said. You could put the jar in your pocket. The BFG looked down at her and smiled. By goggles, ho ho, he said, taking the jar out of the suitcase. Your head is not quite so full of grime sludge after all. I can see you was not born last week. Thank you, kind sir, Sophie said, making a little curtsy from the tabletop. Is you ready to leave? The BFG asked. I'm ready, Sophie cried. Her heart was beginning to thump at the thought of what they were about to do. It really was a wild and crazy thing. Perhaps they would both be thrown into prison. The BFG was putting on his great black cloak. He tucked the jar into a pocket in his cloak. He picked up his long trumpet-like dream blower, and then he turned and looked at Sophie, who was still on the tabletop. The dream bottle is in my pocket, he said. Is you going to sit in there with it? During the travel? I'm not sitting in there with that dream. Never, cried Sophie. I refuse to sit next to that beastly thing. Then where are you going to sit? The BFG asked her. Sophie looked him over for a few moments, and then she said, if you would be kind enough to swivel one of your lovely big ears so that it is lying flat like a dish, that would make a very cozy place for me to sit. Oh, by gumbo, that is a squackly good idea, the BFG said. Slowly, he swiveled his huge right ear until it was a great shell facing the heavens. He lifted Sophie up and he placed her into it. The ear itself, which was about the size of a large tea tray, was full of the same channels and crinkles as a human ear. It was extremely comfortable. I hope I don't fall down your ear hole, Sophie said, edging away from the large hole that was right next to her. Oh, be very careful not to do that, the BFG said. You would be giving me a cronking earache. The nice thing about being there was that she could whisper directly into his ear. You is tickling me a bit, the BFG said. Please do not jiggle about. I'll try not to, Sophie said. Are we ready? Owie! Yelled the BFG. Don't do that. I didn't do anything, Sophie said. You is talking too loud. You is forgetting that I is hearing every little thing-a-ling-a-ling 50 times louder than usual. And there you is, shouting away right inside my ear." "Oh, gosh," Sophie murmured. "I forgot that." "Oh, your voice is sounding like thunder and trumpets." "I'm so sorry," Sophie whispered. "Is that better?" "No," cried the BFG. "It sounds as though you is shooting off a blunderbuss." "Then how can I talk to you?" Sophie whispered. "Don't," cried the BFG. "Please don't. Each word is like you was dropping buzz bombs in my ear hole." Sophie tried speaking right under her breath. "Is this better?" she said. She spoke so softly she could not even hear her own voice. "Is this better?" "Oh, yes, that's better," the BFG said. "Now I is hearing you very nicely. What is it you was trying to say to me just now?" "I was saying, are we ready?" "Oh, we is off," cried the BFG, heading for the cave entrance. "We is off to meet Her Majesty the Queen." Outside the cave, he rolled the large round stone back into place, and he set off at a tremendous gallop.